Hey, what is up, YouTube? This is SP Isa here, and today I'm gonna bring you something new, something I've never really done on this channel. Cause you guys know this has been mainly Smash Bros channel, right? Well, today I want to focus on something different. Like I said, something new. Um, if you guys know me, I'm also besides being a Smash Bros fan, I'm also a really big Marvel fan, like Marvel comics. There's Spider-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, all those heroes. That's like my love, like one of my probably my favorite like fictional universe, really over Smash Bros. And so today I thought I'd do like a Marvel video and see what you guys thought of that. So I thought since Civil War is soon coming out, there's a hype trailer that just came out and everything. I thought I would give an explanation to all those people that don't read the comics, like people that maybe haven't read the original Civil War or just don't know much about it in general. I thought I might as well just make a highlight video or an explanation video for the comic book Civil War, because I know a lot of my friends that I have both in the Smash Bros group and just overall, like they like hear about the superheroes and they watch the movies and stuff, but they don't actually read the comics. And so a lot of crazy stuff went down like the original Civil War. So I'm going to be making a highlight video just to tell you guys what happened. Alright? So I don't know how long this video will be because I have kind of a big list of stuff here that happened. But we're just going to go ahead and roll on with it. Starting with what jump-started the Civil War. Alright, so basically, if you guys don't know what the Civil War is about, it's a clash of pro-government and anti-government forces over whether or not superhumans should be registered. Like registered with the government, government has to know their identities and what abilities they have and stuff like that. And so one side, they're like, yo, we should have the government register superheroes, so that way they won't be going around all crazy and governing themselves like illegal vigilantes. While the other side, they're saying, no, that's an infringement on human rights. We have the right to practice our abilities if we want to or not. And so the conflict there has been going on for a very long time. Ever since superheroes really appeared, people have been wondering, hey, is this legal? Should we allow superhero vigilantes to just perform like feats of like courage, and stuff like on the streets, and like should we allow them to continue doing vigilante heroism? Should that continue to be a thing? And so there's always been arguments about, like if that should be legal or not. But only recently has it actually escalated to full-on war. This really started with an event in this town of Stamford, Connecticut. Here, there were a group of villains hiding out. They consisted of there were a bunch of like B-list villains that aren't really popular villains. You probably don't know their names at all. There was Nitro, Cobalt Man, Speed Freak, Cold Heart. These were just some B-list villains. They were hiding out like some broken down like house or shack, in the small town of Stamford, Connecticut. Probably planning the next big caper. They had recently escaped from prison, and so they were just kind of on the run still from law enforcement and whatnot. Well, this one superhero group called the New Warriors. This was a team of young superheroes who had their own reality TV show. This reality TV show is like one where they found supervillains like this who had just escaped from prison or were on the loose, and they would go and beat them up, and with cheesy lines and over-exaggerated action, just to get more ratings. Like that's their only goal, was to get more ratings and stuff like that. And so they heard about these supervillains escaping from prison. They tracked them down, got the camera crew out, just like any real hero should. Why doesn't Captain America have his own camera crew? Who knows? But anyways, this camera crew came out, and then they came in and just busted down the door, freaking like the Cops TV show pretty much, except with supervillains. Busted down the door and like freaking started beating on these supervillains. Cobalt Man, Speed Freak, and Cold Heart, they were taken out pretty easily because all three of those villains required like armor. They didn't have any abilities of their own, so they were armorless at the time, and by the time they could get to their weapons, they were taken out. The final villain, Nitro, he was launched a few blocks away by this superhero called Namorita, who is the clone of the Atlantean king Namor. Clone or cousin? Clone? Something like that. It's either a cousin or a clone. I get mixed up. But anyways, Nitro was launched by Namorita yeah, all the way into like this school bus in at next to an elementary school. And Nitro, he has the ability to blow himself up and create a gigantic explosion. I don't know the exact size of it, but enough to level out like a few city blocks. And that's his superhuman ability. He can just blow himself up and like reform himself. And so as these new warriors were fighting them and everything was being filmed and whatnot, what happened was Namorita was like, "Yo, I'm about to take you down. I'm gonna show you what's up." And Nitro, he was all like, "I've been in this league far longer than you have, because you're just some like punk superhero. I'm gonna show you how supervillains really act." And Nitro, he just like that. He blew himself up and killed, like destroyed, I think it was like 6 city blocks or something around him. This huge radius, killed almost all of the new warriors. One dude, his name is Speedball. He was launched from the explosion because his powers. He had the power to like create like small force field balls like around himself. He was launched away and saved by his powers. But everyone else, all the new warriors, all of them died. All the villains that were there died. Nitro himself escaped because of his ability, but his explosion killed 600 people in that city. In all those city blocks, it incinerated everyone, and it killed 60 school children that were at the school. And it was an American tragedy. All these superheroes came to help out because they're like, whoa, this is pretty serious stuff. Like everyone was freaking out. The superheroes tried to keep it under control, but everyone was getting pretty like wound up because this was 600 people that just died because some punk superhero team thought they could just go and take down supervillains without any training at all. And so the public like sentiment for heroes like just dropped. Like people were like, "Yo, these superheroes, they just aren't cool now. They freaking caused the deaths of 600 people. That's not cool. Even some children, an entire school of children." And so superheroes started lynching, civilians started lynching superheroes. Like the new warriors that I was talking about, there were several ex-new warriors, new warriors that left before the team became yeah, these were people that were before the team became like a media show. Before that, it was like a legitimate team. But there were several ex-New Warriors that were attacked and lynched, and some of them even killed, because freaking people got upset that a whole school and a whole city was like decimated by these new warriors. Pretty much, they blamed it all on the heroes. The Human Torch, he was beaten into a coma and like hospitalized, and so basically the civilians were the public was getting really riled up about this, and so was the government. And eventually, the government decided that it was time that this be put to a stop. They didn't want another Stanford incident to happen again. And so they talked with S.H.I.E.L.D. and Maria Hill, who was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the time, decided that it was time for the SHRA, the Superhuman Registration Act. This was a legislative bill that enforced the registration of superhumans to the government, which required them to give their full identities to the government, required them to have professional training, and basically prohibited them from using their abilities that's outside anything the government wanted them to do. And so S.H.I.E.L.D., before they enacted this act nationwide, they called up Captain America and they brought him to the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier. And Maria Hill kind of explained to him, "Yeah, we're going to make this registration act. It's going to force all the superheroes to register with us. But it's also going to help train them and make them a better fighting force in general." And Cap was like, "Nah, fam, that is not happening." He was like, he refused to support the act because he was like, "Yo, this is infringement on our civil rights. We have the freedom of, this is a country of freedom. We should not be restricted by the government like this. We have the right to act as heroes if we want to." And so he's like, "Fam, no, I'm out." He dipped. He straight up dipped from the helicarrier after the S.H.I.E.L.D. forces that were on the helicarrier, when he refused to join with them, they immediately tried to arrest him, which was really crazy because the Registration Act hadn't been passed yet. So they were trying to arrest him for a law which wasn't legal, wasn't official yet. And so that was illegal on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s part. But so Cap was acting purely out of self-defense. So he dipped from the helicarrier. He straight up just jumped off and survived because he's Captain America. I think he had a parachute or something. He just dipped. And so now the law was passed regardless of Captain America's interference, because on the other side, on the pro registration side, there was Iron Man, Tony Stark, Iron Man, he felt that it was responsible, it was reasonable for heroes to be self-responsible and to register with the government. He felt that they should have proper shield training. He felt that the self-policing of heroes was insufficient. That wasn't enough to keep the heroes under bay and from causing accidents like Stamford. He felt that it was impossible. He felt that it was also impossible to resist the act because there's so much public support for this registration act. He felt that it was the government's right to protect the people by registering heroes. So yeah, freaking Iron Man, he supported them, and so Cap, he went to hiding as soon as the law passed. He made a group of heroes which the public called the Secret Avengers, and in this group he had Hercules, this dude Bill Foster, who he's also known as the Black Goliath. He was he had the Pym particles that Hank Pym had to grow and shrink, like in the Ant-Man movie. And so Bill Foster had the ability to shrink and grow. He also had Luke Cage on his side. He also had the Iron Fist, who was dressed and pretending to be Daredevil at the time, to kind of help Daredevil out. And at this time, Daredevil was Matt Murdock, he was trying not to let the public know that he was Daredevil. And so Iron Fist was acting as Daredevil to kind of keep his secret identity secret. And so there's Iron Fist on his team. There was also Falcon, Captain America's pretty much his brother, He was that was Cap's main supporter. And there was Cable, who he is a time traveling mutant from the future, who has big guns, giant laser guns, and a cybernetic arm and telekinetic powers, psychic powers. Really tough dude. And they also had the Young Avengers and this duo called Cloak and Dagger on their team. So this was the Secret Avengers. They were underground, fighting against the Registration Act. And on Iron Man's side, he had a pro-registration force, which had the Mr. Fantastic, Hank Pym from the Ant-Man movie, Doc Samson, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, and Wonder Man. These were all superheroes who already had public identities. The public already knew who they were, so they didn't have any problems really with registering. Which that was a big issue with the registering, was that they had to give their identities away, and so people that had already given their identities away, they're whatever, we'll do it anyways. But people that hadn't were I kind of want to keep who I am secret, and this isn't right. And so that was one of the big issues with the Registration Act. And so Iron Man had his pro-registration force. SHIELD made a unit that was called the Cape Killing Unit, which was a unit that took down unregistered heroes with advanced technology. And Tony Stark teamed up with Reed Richards and Hank Pym to make a super prison called Prison 42, which was in an alternate dimension called the Negative Zone. So it wasn't even on Earth or in our dimension, our reality. It wasn't even in our Earth dimension or universe. It was in an alternate dimension, and they had a portal that would lead to this prison, and that's where we would keep heroes and villains they caught. And so they built that to start capturing unregistered heroes. Spider-Man, he had a tough decision to pick between these two forces, because he had a secret identity, but he was also kind of he was kind of influenced by Iron Man into joining his side. So Spider-Man, he did register with the government and joined Tony Stark's side. And Tony Stark, he convinced Spider-Man, Peter Parker, to reveal that he was Spider-Man to national television. And so now the world knew he was Spider-Man. Everyone freaked out because it was whoa, Peter Parker, this kid was Spider-Man when he was 15 years old. What the heck? This kid was beating murderers at 15 years old. And so, everyone flipped out about that. And that was a big event that really brought some support to the government side, because Spider-Man was a well-loved hero at that point, And so he announced his identity. He also got a suit of armor from Tony Stark called the Spider Armor, which made him bulletproof and gave him a bunch of new abilities like gliding and stuff like that. And so he had this new armor now, so he was totally in support. There was even a neutral side in this war. There was the X-Men. They declared neutrality because they were already going through a lot of shit, man. The X-Men, they went through this what was called the M Day and Decimation, which M Day was when Scarlet Witch from the movie, she doesn't actually participate in Civil War. Beforehand, Scarlet Witch used her reality-altering powers to cause the whole world to be reverted into a world ruled by mutants, and she reverted the world back to normal, But before she reverted it back to normal, she said no more mutants. And so the mutant kind was just decimated. Like now there's only like 100 and so mutants left in the world. Estimated like 100 to 600 mutants left after like beforehand there were like hundreds of thousands. And all these mutants just lost their powers. And so now there are only a few mutants left, and so the X-Men were like freaking out trying to like figure out which mutants were left. They were the minority now, you know. They were the severe minorities. So they had to try to group their people back. And so they were like, you know what, we can't get involved in another war. Like this is too much. Come on, guys. And so freaking the X-Men just kind of they stayed neutral. There were some specific mutants that supported and rejected the act, like Wolverine. He was totally against this act because he felt it was a racist act, because all mutants would be forced to register because they had abilities, like superhuman abilities, and so he felt that was just racist, like straight out racist, because mutants, like all mutants were branded like under this act. He also felt that it was oppressive against mutants as well. While this mutant called Bishop, he was a time traveler from this similar to like Cable. He supported the act so mutants could self-police, like, they could police themselves. And so is his home timeline, the future. It was an oppressive home timeline that was like really oppressive against mutants and stuff. He wanted that to not happen, so he supported this act. The government, whenever this act occurred, they started some new programs to kind of like build an army, pretty much. Like they started with the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts was a team of villains turned superheroes. They enacted the Thunderbolts, which were they were government villains turned superheroes. They started this operation called Justice Like Lightning, which captured and reformed supervillains into like an army to fight, to go and fight unregistered heroes. And so this was pretty much like they would go to the villains, they'd capture them, and be like, "Yo, well, we're gonna clear your record. We're gonna like give you amnesty. All you have to do is join with our government, register, and hunt down the heroes that you've been fighting for decades." You know, every supervillain was like, "Yo, this is a free ride. We get beat up the people that have been beating up on us for the law." Heck yeah. And so all these villains registered, and they didn't discriminate. They let murderers onto their team, like straight up. Like they allowed Baytrock, the Leaper, a French mercenary. They allowed Dr. Octopus, who has murdered several people. He is not a clean person at all. Dr. Octopus, they registered him. Death Adder, a vicious murderer. Killer Strike, killer in the name. Swordsman, murderer. Vermin, insane and mutated, not in control of its own mind. Whirlwind, murderer. And Baron Zemo, also murderer. So all of these people were allowed to work for the government, which is really, really sketchy. Like, aren't these the villains that we're trying to fight, but they're on the government side now? That's messed up. I feel like that, personally, that's messed up. Like criminals, other criminals that didn't want to register, they took advantage of the situation to start a gang war, because all the heroes were fighting each other. So like, you know what, now we can take advantage and like regain territory and stuff, and the superheroes won't like interfere. So Hammerhead, a mafia boss, he decided that now was the time to regain control of the Kingpin's territory. He was in prison, but the Kingpin, he was smart enough to direct his army outside within prison, and he tricked Tony Stark into attacking Hammerhead's base because he made it seem like there were unregistered heroes there, when in fact it was just a Hammerhead and his criminals. And so Tony Stark himself was taking down Hammerhead and like just destroyed him, and one of Kingpin's officials assassinated Hammerhead, so that gang war was just stopped by Kingpin. He reigned supreme there. Other things that was going on was there was constantly hero conflict. Like there was constantly a battle between both sides. If any unregistered hero was seen, registered heroes would just take them down, even if they were in the middle of like fights with other villains. The Secret Avengers were jumping from hideout to hideout. They were beating villains in the process, you know, because they were still heroes. You know, they still had to take down super villains, and they were saving prisoners, like they were going to prisoner transports and saving them before they were put into prison. While the government heroes were trying to hunt them down, Stark he created an ambush and lured the Secret Avengers into like a fight with his own forces. Stark tried to talk Cap into surrendering and like joining up with and registering, you know, but Cap just straight up attacked Stark. He was like, "Nah, fam, none of this. You started this, Stark. I'm finishing it." And so Cap just came up and started an all-out battle between forces. You had like people like Invisible Woman, Mr. Fantastic, Luke Cage, and all these powerful superheroes just going head to head. So they had a massive battle, and it seemed like the battles was pretty even until Iron Man like pretty much just snapped his fingers and Thor was just there on his side, and so everyone just like kind of stopped and they're like, "Hold up, Thor's here? What? This ain't fair." And so they still had to fight, but now the Cap's forces were fighting against Thor, a god. Their only other god there was Hercules, and Thor always beats Hercules, so they were kind of screwed. And so it seemed like it was Thor at the time. The heroes were fighting. The heroes had to like fight against Thor now, and so one of the dudes, Bill Foster, the Black Goliath I told you about, he went up and he tried to fight Thor, and Thor just pointed his hammer down and shot a laser beam through his chest and just killed him immediately. And so then that kind of stopped everyone again. They're like, okay, now we know that Thor's here, but did he just straight up kill someone? He just straight up killed someone. You can't. Superheroes don't do that. Thor doesn't do that. And so Thor killed someone. Cap was like, immediate retreat. We're out. We're not gonna fight a killer Thor. Like that's crazy. And so they all left, and Tony Stark was just like, damn it, because that was his own mistake. Because that Thor, it turned out, was actually a clone of Thor. Tony Stark, Hank Pym, and Reed Richards, they created a Thor clone to try to even up the sides, and it was not perfect. It killed someone. That was a problem. So they put it back into stasis for now. They didn't want that to happen again. This murder actually caused the war to ripple a little bit. Some people on the anti-registration side were kind of fearful now. They were scared that they could get killed too. And so this was people like Stature. This is the daughter of Scott Lang from the Ant-Man movie. Scott Lang was dead at this point in time, if you guys didn't know. And he was dead in the comics in Civil War. So, that in the movie, that's not happening in the comics. But anyways, so, Scott Lang's daughter, Stature, she switched to the registry. She surrendered and registered because she was just scared she was going to die. That's pretty scary, messed up. And so, but Invisible Woman and Human Torch, they switched to the unregistered side. They rejected the law, last minute, because they were like, yo, that's not cool that you're killing the heroes. That's not what heroes do. So we're gonna join the real heroes. And so they just dejected from the other team. And so now we have these sides really shaky on their alliances. People are really shaky on which side they should be on. Spider-Man, he was one of the biggest switches of all. Spider-Man, he found out that his new suit monitored his actions and reactions and even his spider sense. So Tony Stark was just looking at alright, so Spider-Man does this move whenever he has this attack. Alright, let me record that so I can just freaking counter that. He was just doing all his data on him. He knew where Spidey was at all times. He also found codes, commands that Stark had put into the suit. Peter Parker had found commands that Stark put into the suit that would just shut Peter down immediately if Peter ever tried to stop Iron Man. And so things that would just freeze up the suit and prevent him from escaping from it, which is pretty freaky stuff. Imagine just being stuck inside a metal suit and Tony Stark just slowly walking up to you that's right, you're screwed. And so yeah, Peter Parker started making override codes for that so he could override that kind of system lock. Peter Parker then visited the Prison 42 that Stark had built, and he found out that many powerful superhumans were there, held in the prison without trial or without access to counsel, lawyers and stuff like that. They're just being held there against their will, illegally. And so Peter Parker was totally against that. They were even in the negative zone, which is the negative zone is literally a place in which all the laws of physics don't apply, and it drains life. Even though they built a habitable area there, it was still life draining. You just felt depressed the instant you got in there because of how terrible it was. The air and just the physics themselves, you just felt awful, and you were just dying. It was just awful. It was terrible. And so Peter Parker was after that he was that's the last straw. I'm done. And so he rebelled and fled after escaping Iron Man. He took Aunt May and MJ and brought them to a hotel kind of keep them safe. And while he was trying to escape and find Cap, he was attacked by he was attacked by Jester and Jack-o'-lantern, who, guess what? Yeah, wait for it. Jack-o'-lantern and Jester, these were villains, murderous villains that Tony Stark had registered. Murderous villains. These people had like death counts. Like these people would straight up kill people, and so these villains were people that Spider-Man fought before. So they're like, yeah, now it's our turn to kill you, Spider-Man. And so they had them drugged. They like, threw bombs everywhere. Spider-Man was about to die until the Punisher came there and just shot both of them. Killed Jester and the Jack-o'-lantern. Did I say Joker before? I meant Jack-o'-lantern. So Jester and Jack-o'-lantern, the Punisher appeared and killed both of them, saved Spider-Man's life, and he brought Spider-Man back to Captain America's hideout. Let's see, like, so Punisher didn't originally want to get involved with the war until the government started bringing people like Venom and Bullseye and Green Goblin, who, if you don't know, Venom is known as the lethal protector, and he eats people. He eats people. And he was on the government side. There's Bullseye, who is a mercenary, an assassin. He was hired to kill people. And the government was like, yo, we're chill with that. You kill people for us. And the Green Goblin, who just, you guys saw the movie where freaking Green Goblin just killed Gwen Stacy, by throwing her off. In the comics, it was a bridge. In the movie, it was a clock tower. She's died either way from the same reasons. But anyways, so yeah, like, they let the Green Goblin on, like, free to work for the government. And so all this was just kind of, like, stuff the Punisher was like, no, I'm here to fight the villains. If the government's hiring villains, they are the villains. And so the Punisher joined Cap's team. This was a really risky move for Cap because he accepted this risk, though, because the Punisher was a convicted killer. And so this would, like, destroy their legitimacy and like their moral high ground against Tony's forces. So this was really tricky for them. It was a risk they took. Tensions rose in the government as different things occurred and caused by the Civil War. Like, for instance, Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, he shot an ambassador, a national ambassador from Atlantis, which is a legitimate country, like in Marvel Comics. So the Green Goblin shot and killed an ambassador, not killed, he shot and almost killed an ambassador. The ambassador fled with his like troops, and in Atlantis they just had like a massive army of fleets just stationed outside of right outside of on the eastern seaboard of America, kind of like they were massing for war. They hadn't announced any declarations of war at all, but this was like a Cold War between America and Atlantis. They were there ready to fight, and America's just like, oh shit, things are going down. And so that happened. Also, villains and heroes tried to flee the Registration Act by going to Europe, like France, and they also tried to flee to Canada. And so different superheroes had to try to combat that. Like there's Omega Flight, which is Canada's Avengers team, pretty much. Omega Flight. They had to form to kind of stop supervillains and heroes from getting into Canada because like illegal immigration, And the same thing, there was like some French superheroes who resisted the Europe fleeing, but it's France. They don't have an army, let alone superheroes, So not much could be done there. So yeah, that happened. The Punisher was kicked out of Cap's group because he killed two supervillains that Captain America was allowing into the group. Goldbug and the Plunderer. They were both just like thieves, who were just like, yo, we'll join up with you guys. We're not cool with this law. And the Punisher just straight up killed them both. So Cap was like, nope, get out. And Punisher pretty much just took it like a man and left. The Secret Avengers with Storm and Black Panther, they decided to stage this mass breakout at the Prison 42 in the Negative Zone. And so the Secret Avengers with Storm and Black Panther, they traveled to the prison, but then they were met, as soon as they got there, they were met by pro-registration forces led by Tony Stark, because the Secret Avengers, they had a spy within their group and they didn't know about it. So Tony Stark and his forces were there. Cap and his forces were there. Hulkling, who is a Skrull, which a Skrull is an alien which can shapeshift to appear like anyone else, and including their DNA and everything. Hulkling, he appeared to look like Hank Pym, so he was able to access the prison codes and unlock the prison cells for all the heroes, and freeing them, making the armies pretty much equal in size. So this was the entire army. Like the entire pro-registration side was laid out on one side, the entire anti-registration side was on the other, and they were pretty much like, all right, it's time to fight. And so these people just pretty much, the fight broke out and they just straight up attacked each other. First, most of this fighting took place in the prison at first. It was just massive hero on hero, villain on hero, and sometimes villain. Just all these people, just like mass chaos. The battle was eventually transferred to New York, as Cloak, a superhero who can like teleport others. He teleported the battle to New York because it was kind of, if they fought in the negative zone, they could shut down the prison and kill everyone. So that wasn't cool. So they moved it all to New York. Namor, the submariner, he's the king of Atlantis. He and some Atlantean soldiers, like fleets and platoons, joined Cap's side against Tony Stark. The Thor clone appeared. Tony called him in to fight. So all this fighting was going on. Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, he was trying to save Invisible Woman, who was on the other team, because Mr. Fantastic was still Tony Stark, and Invisible Woman, his Sue Storm, his wife, was on Cap's team. And so they were enemies, but then Reed Richards, he saw this dude called a Taskmaster, a mercenary and assassin that was hired by the government to join their side. The Taskmaster was about to take out Invisible Woman, and so Reed Richards was shot trying to save her. Hercules, the god, he crushed Thor's skull, the Thor clone's skull, and killed it. So that stopped that, shut him down. The Vision, the dude from the Avengers. Just by the way, the Vision does not have an Infinity Stone in his forehead in the comics. That is a movie-only thing. The Vision, if he had an Infinity Stone, he'd be extremely powerful, like way more powerful than the movie shows. Going on, the Vision, he used his phasing abilities to phase through Iron Man's armor and like take out his armor, and just weaken him enough for Captain America to just come in and like beat him down. And so he completely subdued him. The city was getting absolutely ravaged by the battle. Buildings were crumbling. The street was getting demolished because there were hundreds of superheroes in this one localized area, and the fight was going down. Cap, it seemed that Cap's side was winning because Tony Stark, was down, and Cap was about to bring down the finishing blow until cops in the city, cops and EMTs and firefighters, they came in and tried to pull Cap away. And so as soon as this happened, Cap realized how much damage the battle was causing around him. It was taking out civilians and buildings and stuff like that. And he decided that was pretty bad. These are the people he's trying to protect. He shouldn't be causing so much damage to them. And so Cap surrendered. He got placed in jail. He got placed in jail. With some secret Avengers that were on his team, they got government amnesty to register, while others escaped. So this was pretty much the end of the war. With Captain America surrendering and Tony's side become the victors. Afterwards, Tony Stark became the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Maria Hill stepped down, and so now Tony Stark could direct all of this new superhuman forces. He started what was called the 50 State Initiative, which basically made an Avengers team in each state. So there'd be a hero team always on point if one of the states was being threatened by a supervillain. Captain America, he got assassinated by Crossbones and Sharon Carter, his former love, and so he died. Yeah, he was dead. Some heroes made an outlaw Avengers team and continued to fight. These were heroes like Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Luke Cage. They were some of the bigger heroes in this outlaw Avengers team. They continued to fight supervillains while not registering with the government, and they also continued to fight against registered heroes who were trying to shut them down. Also, something else that happened because of this civil war, one of the aftermath effects, was Spider-Man's Aunt May. Peter Parker's Aunt May was killed because he had revealed his identity. It basically placed the target on all of his loved ones' shoulders, and so Aunt May was shot and killed by one of Kingpin's agents, and he was immediately really depressed and rageful after that. So he went back to wearing his black Spider-Man costume. Norman Osborn, he became the head of the Thunderbolt team, the team of supervillains turned heroes, which doesn't seem like an important thing at first, but you'll realize later on it really was important, because he used this position of power to eventually he got enough power to take over S.H.I.E.L.D. and become the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is something I'll talk about later on maybe if I make another video. And also something else that was a result of this was America was now divided. Like the heroes were not together; they were divided. And so with America divided and like the superhero community like pretty much torn in half, they were ripe for an invasion. Which next event that took place after Civil War in the comics was the Secret Invasion, in which the Skrull army I talked about, the Skrull aliens, they invaded Earth, and I can maybe talk about that later. So that was pretty much what happened in Civil War. Cap got shot. Iron Man's forces won. Ant-Man was dead at the time, and Hawkeye was too. Yeah, both of them had been killed by Scarlet Witch, who was also not there at the time of the war. Let me think. Quicksilver. I'm trying to like bring in heroes that were actually that are in the movie right now that are involved. I know Quicksilver. He at the time of Civil War, he had lost his powers because of M-Day, but he did get a hold of what is called the Terrigen crystals, which are what give the Inhumans their ability. Which the Inhumans are like a species of human, which have superhuman abilities. So he was able to get a hold of Terrigen crystals, and Quicksilver was kind of just running around and giving mutants their powers back with his new power, like his new ability. He had the ability to give mutants their powers back. So he wasn't involved in the war. He was pretty much just giving mutants their power back and stuff like that. Trying to think of any other heroes that I didn't mention that were in the war. Vision was in it, Iron Man was in it. I don't think Black Widow was really involved. I actually don't know. Like her, if she was involved, it wasn't like heavy involvement. Actually, hold up. I have my book right here. I'm gonna search her up and real quick. I have like okay, Black Widow. She was okay, so she was assisted. She assisted the Superhuman Registration Act. So she was pretty much since she was already a Shield agent, she pretty much just sided with Cap, or not with Cap, with Tony. So she was on Tony's side. Any other superheroes I'm forgetting from the movie? I don't think so. War Machine, I'm pretty sure he took. It would make sense that he would take Tony Stark's side because he's like one of Tony Stark's best friends. Yeah, War Machine, he registered with the government, so yeah, he was on the government side. Yeah, just because he was one of Stark's friends, so yeah, he registered. Yeah, because he was a friend of Stark's, so of course he would register with the government. I think that covers everyone that's in the movie. I think. If there was someone else that was in the Civil War movie that I forgot to mention, just let me know. But yeah, that's Civil War. I know this video is going to be extremely long. I'm looking at the clock right here, and it's like 40 minutes. That is pretty intense. I don't think I want to split it up into 2 parts, but if you guys just want to watch, if you guys have time to watch the whole thing, go for it. If not, if you don't want to watch the whole thing, just let me know if it's too long for you. If you don't have 40 minutes to spare, I feel you. I sometimes don't want to persevere, but just yeah, this is it. This is just me talking about stuff I love, the comic books. I'm thinking later on I might try to do like comic reviews, like of specific comic books. I'll do like different events, like I did for Civil War. Like I'll do Secret Invasion and Dark Reign, which is when Norman Osborn was in power. So I'll probably do like different events like that and stuff. I'll maybe do trailer reviews or movie reviews, all that kind of stuff. I know I'm definitely gonna be doing a Fantastic Four review because that movie sucked balls. So we're gonna be doing that sometime. I'm gonna be telling like straight up like what was wrong in this movie. But anyways, just let me know if you enjoyed the video, if you want to see more from me and comic books, or if you're like, yo, I hate comics, just go back to Smash Bros. Tell me that too. I don't care. I probably won't listen to you, but yeah, just let me know. Let me know what you thought. And I don't have anything else to say, so Excelsior!